2629.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
If you trade your expectations for appreciation and the world changes for you. That's what Tony Robbins once said. We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. In business, we talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information that you won't want to miss. It's a live show. This week, it's all about outreach. This week, we'll be joined by guests Michael Shapiro, Steve Coven, Mike Grip, Elliot Richardson, and Chaya Appel, and I'll be sharing tips for improving your business negotiations at the end of the show. That's right. It's a live show. You could call in with your questions at 312-642-5600. Mark that number down, 312-642-5600. Get Down to Business is powered by our good friends at Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them at tandemhr.com or call 630-928-0510. Once again, that number is 630-928-0510. You can also email them, simplify@tandemhr.com. So this week, like every week, we talk about entrepreneurship, and I can think of nobody better to discuss the subject about entrepreneurship than my good friend Michael Shapiro, who's joining me here in studio. Michael is the principal of Dynamic Management Solutions. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shalom. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, Michael, you know a thing or two about entrepreneurship because you teach entrepreneurship, you coach entrepreneurs. Tell us what you're most passionate about, why you're so involved in entrepreneurship.
I'm most passionate about helping people be successful and having an effect on people in their businesses.
That's great. So you teach at what school?
I teach at DePaul in the School for New Learning. It's the downtown Loop campus.
Fantastic. So entrepreneurship, do you think that there is a profile for an entrepreneur that's successful versus the profile of an entrepreneur that might fail? Because we do know that many businesses do fail in those first few years. What is the mark of success? Can you identify a successful entrepreneur?
Occasionally. Typically, it's someone who sees an opportunity and marshals the resources in order to take advantage of that opportunity.
Can you share any success stories from either your students over at DePaul or perhaps the businesses that you coach? The success story might not be in terms of dollars that they've made, but success that in impact.
Sure. I've had a student at DePaul about 5 years ago. Of course, their project was to do a business plan for a business they wanted to start. Well, he went ahead and successfully started his business. It's a Apple consulting firm. And 3 years later, I get a phone call from him. Michael, help. I'm at the center of my business. I'm so successful, I don't have time to sleep or have a life. What can I do?
Well, that's a challenge that not everybody faces, but there are many that do face that challenge. Getting the business started is one piece of the puzzle, but leveraging that business and never to plateau, to always take that business and get it to the next level. And you help a lot of people with that challenge through Dynamic Management Solutions. Tell us how you started your business.
Well, in 2000, shut down .com I was one of the founders of. We published political and public policy websites, and I scratched my head and said, what would you like to do now? And I'd been working with and in small businesses for most of my professional life, so I started a consulting practice that did just that, helped entrepreneurs deal with leadership and the inflection point when their company has gone from startup to be successful. How do they learn how to get out of their own way? Helping individuals who are good at what they do but need help wrapping a business around it. How do I set my fees? How do I deal with a difficult client or a client that won't pay? Or how do I do business development?
And you're a native Chicagoan?
I am.
Fantastic. So something that many businesses have to do, but they struggle with it, is asking for help. That's the business that you're in. You're in the business of offering help and offering guidance, but you can only help people that want to listen. Can you tell us, I guess, perhaps some words of inspiration for the businesses that are listening, the entrepreneurs that are listening to Get Down to Business this week, to encourage them to seek advice, whether it's from Michael Shapiro or from a friend, a mentor, or a coach like yourself? Tell us why asking for advice is so mission critical.
Asking for advice is mission critical because we don't know everything. We need an objective set of eyes to look at a situation and actually hold a mirror up to ourselves and give us feedback on what it is that we don't know.
Absolutely. People need to ask for advice, and it doesn't matter how silly it might be, whether it's how trivial and small it might be, but sometimes everything is big. In business, every single decision is a big deal, and it's one little thing that can be the start of a domino effect for both the positive or the negative, and that's really, really important. So what kind of other companies do you work with through your management consulting firm?
Financial services, creative companies, technology companies, some manufacturers, but primarily in the professional services area.
And that's great. That's helpful that businesses, as you mentioned, those in financial services can come to you asking for help. I know you're involved in a lot of networking. You're involved in a lot of community. What groups and organizations are you involved in that you can recommend for our listeners?
Well, there's two groups that come to mind. One is the Small Business Advocacy Council. It's a great organization that promotes small businesses in the legislature and provides networking opportunities.
And we're going to have Elliot Richardson, the CEO of the SBAC, on Get Down to Business in just a few minutes.
And great. And the other one is the Chicago Business Network. It's a non-competitive network that meets twice a month at the East Bank Club.
That's great advice. So do you think Chicago has a strong small business climate?
I do. And it ranges from the neighborhoods to downtown, but there is definitely a small business climate in Chicago.
Tomorrow is the inauguration of a new governor, Governor Rauner, who I've been fortunate to build a relationship with, and he's argued through the election cycle that Illinois has a challenging business climate because of taxes, because of some other limitations, and I know that's something that the SBAC is working really, really hard. So what makes you think that why is Chicago's small business, why is Chicago's entrepreneurial climate stronger than perhaps other cities and other communities?
I think because of the family business nature of the city, there are many opportunities for businesses to thrive here throughout the neighborhoods.
So we're slowly running out of time over here. Michael, what's some advice? What's the one bit of advice that if our listeners can only hear one thing out of Get Down to Business this week that you would want them to know to achieve success in their small business?
They should find an opportunity to develop a board of trusted advisors, people that give objective feedback to them, such as my entrepreneurs groups that meet monthly.
I remember when I saw you the other week, you were coming from western suburbs, and then you had to get ready for your next group that was a little bit further south and further north, and you're always running in a million directions, but helping small businesses, and that's the business that Michael Shapiro, the principal of Dynamic Management Solutions, is in, and thrilled that you're here with us in studio. If our listeners have questions for you, they want to continue that conversation about entrepreneurship, where can they find you?
They can find me at Michael, Michael, at dmscoach.com. That's David, Michael, Sam, Coach, COACH.com.
And that website, dmscoach.com, a lot of information about the services that you provide. And you also have the question that many people probably need to answer is, do you need a management consultant for your company? And you've got that answer on your site. So I don't want to tease the answer, but people can check that out. The reality is that everybody needs advice. And whether you need a management consultant, a management coach, everybody needs a guide, a mentor, an advisor for their business. So, Michael, once again, thanks for joining us on the show. Michael at dmscoach.com to connect with our good friend Michael Shapiro. Hopefully we'll have you back on the air with many other words of wisdom and advice for the entrepreneurial community. Thanks for joining us. Get Down to Business is brought to you in part by Everett Wealth Solutions, a registered investment advisor and financial planning firm, a fiduciary advisor that helps you create your personal wealth. You can find them at everettwealthsolutions.com or call 708-771-7777. Once again, that phone number is 708-771-7777. And on January 20th, I've been plugging this for weeks now, we've got a great LinkedIn event. It's absolutely free. We have a LinkedIn coach coming in from New York City, going to teach you how to maximize your LinkedIn network, grow your network, whether it's for recruiting or for a job yourself. And that's on January 20th. You can register for that event and download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. After the break, we're going to have a fascinating discussion with a small business, NAPCO, with Steve Coven and Mike Ripp. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business.